Steve Daniels is the head of solutions design at Trommel, co-founder and CTO of Chiefly AI, and before all of that, he co-founded Bleach Cyber. Spent years building cybersecurity platforms for businesses that couldn't afford enterprise-grade protection. He's also a military veteran with a background in risk resilience. I wanted him on today because he's one of the few people that I've touched base with who deals with things both sides, both in building cybersecurity businesses against threats, but more so capturing data and intelligence, which makes businesses run. So, Steve, welcome to the podcast, mate.
Hi, nice to be here.
Thank you. We've spoken a bit on LinkedIn, had a call, and yeah, we sort of come to the crux of it that you're an interesting sort of guy in the fact of a generalist.
Didn't come to that conclusion.
Yeah, that was one of the first things you said to me is, I don't think I'm that interested, but I beg to differ. Interesting generalist who's good at problem solving and is good at gathering information and basically use it to solve problems.
Mm.
Agree?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It's my jam.
Perfect. So format of the podcast, as we mentioned, I've got a few questions which I'll rattle off for you, and I'll start straight with the first question. You happy?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Take me back to a time when you first spotted the gap between the information people get, boots on the ground, and the information that decision makers get at the top.
So I'm not going to go with a time like an event, but I think this comes to the crux of what we're doing at Chiefly. Really, there are so many pieces of software and distributed systems and things like that that small business leaders have to manage. Things like QuickBooks, HubSpot, everything basically. Um, the problem is there's no real sort of nexus for that, and if business, certainly small business leaders, are trying to run their business, and maybe if we go down to the sort of the minimum level of this, like say it's a guy, he's a plumber, he's got a few employees, but he's still doing on the ground work. He hasn't got an awful lot of time to actually work on his business. I think that's one of the most common problems in small businesses nowadays. Actually working on your business opposed to for your business is a real struggle. What that really highlights is that you've got data everywhere that you need to make sense of quickly. And if they are all in all these different systems and tools, how are you gonna get to the crux of what actually matters? You may wake up one day and you have to go, I don't know, plumb someone's house in, but at the same time you've got 15 invoices that haven't been paid and they're overdue. All of a sudden your cash flow becomes a big problem, and you may or may not have noticed it. I mean, it depends the kind of individual you are, right? So I would say, that rather than a specific point in time, because I'm sure it's like,
Yeah, sure. And obviously, that's the gap that you've sort of seen there and built Chiefly AI on. And yeah, it just personifies the sort of point I was making about yourself, where there's so much usable intelligence and we sort of like segregate ourselves and like feed ourselves propaganda because we're so focused on the ground. So we think that is the whole world, or we're so focused in bird's eye view and we think that's the whole world. So yeah, it's really cool where you can provide a solution that sort of bridges that gap really well.
I think all the best solutions are ones that bridge the gap between existing solutions. I think. I mean, you can see it in, like, for HubSpot, for example. I think they started off as a kind of basic marketing-led CRM, and they've slowly bolted on as much as they can to cover the range of activities within sales and marketing. I mean, you can build website landing pages on there now. You can look at your own website analytics. You can do mass email marketing campaigns. They didn't start like that. And there's another one, I think it's called Zoho. It's very similar, and they kind of, acquire more businesses over time, but it kind of broadens their range. But still, they're only focused on those kind of key areas, and there are a whole bunch of other areas that you need to focus on when you're running a small business, especially with a small team.
When you're designing a solution for a business or business, what's the first thing you look at that tells you more about their like real and true security posture than anything that's like written in the original brief?
I don't, to be quite honest with you, I don't lead with security. That's never the first defining factor. Um, and the reality of it is going to be controversial, right? Because security people think security is the be all and end all. But the reality of the situation, SMBs, and I'd say up to small, mid-sized businesses, They don't care that much about security. And you can see that is in the way that they consume it. They never do it themselves. They never buy these solutions. They pay somebody else, a VC's, a security advisor. They never do it themselves because they're not that interested. They're only interested as far as it supports them to make good on sales, right? So if they're not delivering to enterprises, it's unlikely that they're ever going to get some sort of compliance questionnaire or request for their ISO 27001 certificate. So it's not a big deal for them. That being said, because it depends also what stage of the development you are. If it's just I've got a problem, I need it to be solved, the first part of that problem solving isn't considering security, it's considering how to solve the problem. When you deploy said solution, that's when you really start considering security, because obviously you don't want to build something and then deploy and it be instantly full of holes. But AI is making that really easy nowadays, really easy. I mean, there's this massive fear that because of AI, everyone's going to get hacked. The reality of that situation is most businesses are not even on the radar of these hackers. Like, who cares? Who cares about you running a plumbing shop? You know what I mean? You're a lawyer. Maybe they care about that, depending on what your caseload is.
Sure.
But that's the reality of the security situation. I think the security industry in general is really good at selling fear and uncertainty. In fact, that's how that business runs. So, I mean, to go right round the loop, right back to the beginning of the question, how do I see the postures? They're almost non-existent in a lot of cases.
No, I get that. It's both of us can have the battle scars of starting a business, and like it's tough. It's you got to prioritize things, and starting the business and getting someone to pay you is probably first in the list, and security and doing things correctly sort of like slowly trickles down. But
Mm.
yeah, when because you started Bleach Cyber, so
Mhm.
when you were at Bleach Cyber, what is something that you helped build, you're incredibly proud of, but the reaction to the person, the customer, told you more about the product than any market research you were able to do way before?
The one thing that I was really proud of, so to give you an idea of what Bleach Cyber did, it connected to your existing tech stack. So Azure, Amazon, AWS, Google Cloud, whatever, um, identified what we called an opportunity for greater security, and then told you how to fix it, basically. So you didn't need someone to do it for you unless you were really averse to clicking some buttons. As I'm sure you're aware, like AWS, and that they're not the easiest of platforms to navigate around and understand. A whole plethora of things that you can do on there, but they're for tech people generally. I built this a browser extension basically, that as soon as you sort of clicked one of the opportunities, it would take you to the page where you'd need to fix it. So it was sort of deep linked into wherever it was. Let's just say, I don't know, the password character requirements or complexity requirements on Google Workspace. You click the button, it would take you there, and then a little sort of sidebar would pop out and give you a step by step on how to complete it. Go here, click here, right here, on that, and scale that up to like, making an S3 bucket non-publicly available. It'd have the instructions for that as well. And the first time that I showed someone, it was just like, for them, is that aha moment. Like you could tell that they thought it was cool, and they were like, "Wow, that's awesome." And I feel really proud of that, because it's not the first it's not a go-to solution that people would think of immediately. Like Chrome, I think browser extensions are they've got a bad rep, to be quite honest with you. They can be kind of annoying. They, normally full of ads and things like that, or behind paywalls. But if you include that in your solution for free, it can really add authenticity to what you're doing, because
Mhm.
it's simple, it's where people are, and it's easily extensible. So off the back of that, I started to build before Bleach, before Bleach happened. We I extended it by creating almost like an automatic vulnerability engine from it. But it wasn't vulnerability as you would expect, like the CSS or whatever. It was all to do with our opportunities, basically. So it would navigate you to your admin workspace, Google Workspace admin or whatever, read the page, and then check if the settings that need to be set were set or not, basically, and identify that as an opportunity. Like, you haven't got MFA enabled, because not every, if as you would expect, like, we were doing everything through clever use of APIs and things. So Google, for example, don't give you even read access to some areas of their platform, which you would expect for security reasons. So it's like getting a way around that by allowing the user to navigate somewhere, us read the screen, and then tell them what is wrong with the screen so that they can then fix it. So it's all about, I hasten to use the word hacking a solution together. But in the first instance, when you're creating new stuff, you have to hack stuff together. It's just the way of the world, right?
Yeah. And you answered one of my questions. My immediate question was going to be, so like people don't know what they don't know. So you solve that problem. They can't fix something they have no idea, or they don't even know they don't even know that they have no idea. So you solve that problem, and then, like, in my experience, that's great. People love to know, but then to solve it, they they want the white glove. You give them like a guide, they're like, "God, too much." So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, how do you close the gap? How do you close that gap? And then precisely what you've done there, where it's like, use APIs, like scan a screen, just take as much friction away as possible, because you just need to make it so easy for them, because they want to be secure, but it's just like, do I have to spend 20 hours learning what an
Yeah, yeah.
API is?
It's particularly pertinent in the security industry, I think, because there are two types of people in business: technical and business. I think everybody knows this. This isn't any like great shakes, but the way that they react to security are very different. Technical people, they'll take it, they understand it, etc., etc. Business people, instant blinkers. They're like, if it becomes even slightly wordy in an explanation, they're gone. Then no, thank you. Get someone to do it for me. And
Yeah.
that is something that I think the security industry really leans on hard to sell their solutions. I mean, how many vendors are there? There's something like 5,000 security vendors of one description or other out there. And that's, well, someone who's not even security savvy trying to find a solution like that in that pond of, it's just a nightmare. It's not something that's just attainable to a lot.
Do you think that there are structural problems within the SME sort of mid-business market for cybersecurity? Like, what's like the structural problems that have managed to outlive the new products that keep coming out, and why?
Well, I mean, to put it out there, firstly, in the security industry, the SMB market is the holy grail. Like, nobody has really locked it down, and the reason for that is because, not in any meaningful way, like selling directly to the SMB customers, and that's because of this lack of, it's not care, it's the apathy. I think small business leaders are only interested in their own survival. The security industry is super expensive in the most cases. Don't get me wrong, there are some SMB focused solutions out there. But you'll see, right? All of the SMB focused solutions, they always start, and Bleach did exactly the same. They always start trying to sell directly to the consumer business, and they always go to an MSP model, because no one in the SMB space, business wise, wants to deal with it themselves. It always goes to a third party or through a third party who can afford to get the solutions cheaply en masse and then deliver it to multiple customers, basically.
Yeah, again, theme of what we're speaking here is just the information gap. So it leads me on to the next question. With Trommel, you're capturing what sales reps know from their field visits. So what was once in their head and potentially disappears on Friday, you're now helping gathering all that intelligence. But how much of that information was essentially going unused beforehand? Now you have this tech.
I think it's now, don't just think in the automotive industry. Think of this across any industry that supplies sort of like in a warehouse distribution model. So in the automotive aftermarket parts industry, basically the way the industry works is someone has a lot of parts, a company has a lot of different parts for different cars, and they have sales reps that go out to the various repair shops and stuff and garages to move those parts, sell them those parts. Now that's a hugely relationship driven business because, you know, the same rep may have 300 customers, 300 different customers that he goes to, and he has to keep on the level with them and sell them continuously throughout time. Now, there are so many different factors that affect the way that those sales are conducted, whether it's seasonal, whether it's, you know, better promotions from a different distributor, whatever. Now, all of that is good information to have, even down to the level of this guy owns this shop and his birthday is next week, or his kid just like went through college or just graduated or whatever. All of these things help to keep the relationship going, knowing that and tipping up, and they're immediately referencing that straight away to say, like, how did little Johnny his graduation go? Is all really good information, but these reps have so many customers that if they don't capture the information when it's fresh, then generally there's a sliding scale of how much gets lost. So he may go visit like 10 customers in a day. If he doesn't write any notes about that or put any notes on his system till the end of the day, can you imagine how much is lost?
Mm.
Even just little tidbits are important. Or this is starting, you know, an offhand comment from a customer saying that, you know, the 2 deliveries were late actually have a real effect on their custom because it means their customer has to wait for the part to be put on their car. So their car is in the shop for longer than it should be, et cetera, et cetera. So all of these really small tidbits of information build up to a picture of an individual customer. And if you lose that, or even a slight amount of the fidelity of that, there are massive implications. Trommel started by doing it exclusively like with online part sellers. They were basically looking through all the data they had. Now, if you've got 150,000 products, right, and you find out that you're selling one of those products at a loss and it's been happening for a month, that is potentially millions of dollars that you've lost, millions, just from one part that may only be being undersold by like $1, $20, whatever. Huge implications. So they started off doing it that way. That was their kind of main business, and then they went into the kind of sales reps because I mean the problem is essentially the same. It's just it's kind of another level on because it's about relationship building. So what Trommel effectively does is allow those reps basically built a mobile phone app that allows them to create voice notes that are transcribed immediately, whether they're online or not, and then sent out to what they call the refiner, what we call the refinery, which does all the analysis and then maintains an accurate record within each customer of what's going on.
That is, it's not too dissimilar to my job. So if like you're trying to catch a scammer, fraudster, an online harasser, like they're very good at not leaving a digital trail. They just leave little breadcrumbs, and it's about like capturing all those little threads and just pulling it all into one picture. You know, it's just like a jigsaw piece, one email, one username, one mobile number to paint the picture of what the actual truth is of what you actually need. And the bigger scale that you guys deal on, the more that micro 0.1% can make or break a sort of thing like that. And yeah, so you originally came from military, you went into cybersecurity, you went into building AI products, and across all of that, the intelligence and information you gather is essentially to help make better decisions. So, in your opinion, what what actually makes what how do people react? Sorry, let me rephrase that. Making high stakes decisions under the pressure. Yeah. What is like how do you do that in a good way?
It's a difficult one. I think one thing that the army teaches you in almost all levels of leadership is take the Condor moment. I think anyone military probably knows exactly what I'm talking about. You're always taught to take a knee, assess the situation before making a decision. Now that can happen really quickly, but I think what it teaches, what that kind of teaches you to do is to not just act on emotion, because the very start of a situation is going to be the most emotional for you, the most overwhelming. Just taking that Condor moment, even if it's only a couple of seconds, and you take a knee, take your Condor moment, assess the situation for what it is, decide what you're going to do, and then be all in on what you're going to do. I think that's absolutely the same in business. People, let's go, security incident happens. Everybody panics. It happens, and that's why in enterprise there's a business continuity plan and a incident management plan, because everybody knows people start making snap and judgy decisions in the heat of the moment, and really you need to take that moment just to understand what's actually going on, because it might not be nearly as bad as you thought.
No, for sure. Yeah, logic definitely overtakes emotional decisions, and emotional decisions is where things like if you're a harasser and you act on impulse to do something bad online, that's when you make mistakes and that's when you get caught.
Yeah.
Obviously, completely different to what you're talking about there. I don't want to muddle too up, but yeah, this crossover.
No, it's
See,
absolutely true. It's
sorry, go on.
absolutely, it's absolutely true. I mean, I saw a bit of it with the past company, emotional kind of lashing out and stuff. Yeah, I can totally take what you're saying.
Chiefly AI is feeding business leaders as well as businesses feeding Chiefly AI with data. And it is helping businesses change their direction sometimes within the first 90 days. So, what specifically is AI surfacing that a human advisor previously wasn't or couldn't?
Well, it's not so much what they couldn't do. Imagine you go to a small business advisor, or you go to one of the big ones, you go to Deloitte or whatever. You pay them 10 grand, have a few conversations with them, and they provide you with a PowerPoint or something, or a couple of charts that probably already knew but didn't really understand.
Hmm.
Chiefly AI does that for not even like 1% of the cost of that. It brings all of your data in, has a look at it as a whole, and then provides answers to the questions that you're asking to be really at its sort of basic level.
Nice. Yeah, it's just
Sure.
that was yeah. You've it's you only need to say as much as the message needs. So that makes a lot of sense. It's just bringing, yeah, amalgamating the data that you need to really make a decision. And like the first question sort of personified that as well. It's just like bringing all the intelligence which you don't even think to look at, don't even know. And it's not just bringing the data in; it's the insights, because intelligence is one thing, but like what does that actually tell you? And it seems like your city you put your pretty noses on the button with that one.
Yeah, to build it on it with it a little bit more. I mean, if you imagine the way that people use AI, especially sort of small business wise, people are kind of nudging it now, I think, a little bit more than they used to. There's still this huge security question over it, which actually it's not actually that difficult to mitigate some of the AI security stuff. And partly because not everybody's after your data. Like not everybody. That doesn't mean be complacent, but like you don't need state level security to for your app or whatever, because like Russia doesn't really care about you generally. Let's be honest. The idea is that if you say you throw a spreadsheet of your balance sheet or something into ChatGPT and I'll start asking it questions, you have a really good conversation, you get a lot of insights back, but that's it, right? You've got your insights, you've got your spreadsheet in there. If you want to start talking about something else, you open a new chat, upload a new spreadsheet, or whatever, and then start talking about it again and kind of work the conversation to get where you need to be. What Chiefly does is allows you to maintain that over time and
Hmm.
have really easy data ingestion. So we connect to QuickBooks, well, or most of the big accounting tools, QuickBooks, Zero, Sage. We connect to CRM. So and actually we ingest documents as well. So if you don't want to connect anything up, you can still supply with information just by adding documents. It starts to build a picture of your business over time, and then every time you ask it questions, it includes those facts. I call them organization facts. It includes those facts in the responses, so that it knows it's giving you, the best or most insightful answers. And it also then on the kind of knock on effect of that, it can tell you what it thinks you need to do next. So it will give you a strategy or a priority to do, and then break it down into tasks. So if it's implement an SEO strategy, it'll tell you how to do that as well. So you could kind of monitor and manage.
Yeah. Again, information gap, one thing, implementation, completely different. And then it's like, how many actionable steps do you need to actually get it over the line? Because one person may need, like, I could say to you, can you go make me an app? And that's enough information for you to be able to solve that. If I said
Right.
to my nan, make me an app, be over her head. So I'd be like, right, open up your computer, open up Claude, ask Claude. It's just about how many like small iteration steps and actual things you have to give someone.
100%.
Yeah, and it seems like you've got a universal solution that can help most businesses.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Come to Chiefly Air.
The last one, incredibly hard, difficult question. Anyone wants to touch base with you, talk to you, or if you want to sort of drop anything in, this is the chance.
Yeah, it's Steve at chieflyai.com. More than happy to, if you, what I quite like doing is just sort of, I like chatting to people. That's why I'm on this call in the first place. Like you reached out and I was like, yeah, let's have a chat. I'd really like to show people how they can be using AI, well, at all or better. I think there's this common conception of AI nowadays is the chat GPT. You just put you bang some stuff in chat GPT, but actually the big kind of misnomer that people don't really understand is that a lot of these models are better things than other models, right? So that's one of the things that Chiefly does. We have multiple models. We use ChatGPT, Gemini, we use Claude, and we use it for different things. But you never see that because it's all in the background. Like we've identified what things are what models are good at what jobs, and we kind of route you as you go. All you do is ask the question. So yeah, sorry. Basically, yeah, I like to talk to people about that kind of stuff because it's fun.
Yeah, we've had a few calls now, and you've shown me a few cool things like
Yeah.
rendering and taking apart a website and gathering information. But yeah, it's been a very good chat, Steve. I knew this would be good, despite your first initial comment of you're not interesting. There's so much crossover. There's so much crossover. It's like I feel like we have very similar skills and thought processes, but just using it in a kind of different way.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think one of my favorite points you made there is about security. And like, it's almost arrogant to think like, I'm important enough that people are going to attack me. And it's like, no, you're not really anyone yet. So don't worry about it just
Yeah.
yet. Like, build the business first and then work on it.
What if the Russians get me? It's like, yeah, I'm not interested in you.
Exactly. Ease up. But Steve, thank you very much. I appreciate your time, mate. And yeah, hopefully we touch base again in the future.
100%.